delighted to introduce Kate Carney. Kate is the founder of youinmind.org and director of Stitch Limited. So, Kate.
Hi, how are we all? I'm a walker. And I'm also going to stand over here. That's going to mess you up. Because you're all used to looking in that direction, and so that channel of thought. If you look at my website with Stitch, that'll explain a lot. My name is Kate Carney. Oh, I need my clicker. Let me click. My name is Kate Carney. I have two young girls. I have a 3- and a 5-year-old. Poppy, she's 3. She's a nightmare. Belle, 5. She's really, really good. So it's been really interesting listening to the talk about equality and diversity and girls and women in business, which I am one, and basically they are too. And thinking about what I do with Stitch. Oh, I can see that. What I do with Stitch and what I do with You in Mind, and how that kind of translates into my parenting. Little side subject there. Okay, so 2 businesses. I'm really greedy. My first one is called Stitch. We are a research and marketing agency. We do loads of stuff with training providers, actually. I used to work for a training provider 6 years ago before I had Annabelle. And we help unearth learner experiences and enable organisations to see what's really going on, unearth those golden nuggets of opportunity. So having worked for an apprenticeship provider in marketing, I know how hard it is to try and differentiate yourself and to talk about your programs in a very different way and use your brand to differentiate yourself. So that's some of the stuff we do with Stitch. You in Mind is my new baby, born in August of last year. And it's my mission. And many of you are from large organisations. That's all great and big and scary. I'm a woman on a mission, and that's kind of it. And I've got a little team of people behind me with Stitch, but with You in Mind, it's just me. And occasionally my husband, but we don't involve him in anything. So what have we been doing, and how did we get to doing this? So 2016, Stitch was commissioned by several NHS CCGs, foundation trusts and local authorities to help them to understand what really happens to service users, those people who are using mental health services across Cheshire. So we did, oh my goodness, loads of different types of research, focus groups, interviews, surveys, street activities, with vulnerable groups of society, those who were service users and those who are vulnerable and actually not service users, but are on the fringes and maybe at risk of needing some services in the future. A large percentage of that research was with 11 to 19-year-olds. So this all started to click together. I'd worked with an apprenticeship provider. I have a lot of apprenticeship providers as clients. And I'm talking to young adults in college, a lot of who are 16 to 19, about what they expect, experience, and need from mental health services across this region. It was Cheshire. So I spent 2016 on the Stitch side of my business, working with apprenticeship providers, rewriting another booklet and how-to guide for apprenticeships and course and all of that stuff that you all do in the same way, same time, no offence anybody, but the same sort of stuff. And then on the other side, we were doing this stuff in mental health, again through Stitch, and talking to schools and colleges, and then doing this learner journey on the one hand, and then patient pathway mapping. And I still had my clients on Stitch and the apprenticeship side talking to me about, how can we write this in a different way? How can we position our messages in a different way? And I said to them, well, what else are you actually doing that is different to anybody else? All of you that I work with, of which are big and little, what are you actually doing? What are you doing to support the learner, the whole learner? And remember, at the same time, I was talking to kids who were self-harming. But the most important thing that happened for me, and where You in Mind was born, was on the 1st of August last year. I had lodged gin and tonic. I'd been at focus groups all day, talking to men, mostly men, who had lost their wives, their jobs, their kids, who were suicidal, who were telling me about all of their challenges that they had. Some of them were homeless. It was a pretty tough day from my perspective, so God forbid how it was for them. And then I walked to Nisa, a little local shop top of my road, to get a bottle of tonic, to be totally honest. And I literally bumped in to a lady called Gemma. Now, Gemma had been our childminder when my girls were really little, and I hadn't seen her for a long time. Gemma has a 13-year-old daughter called Ellie. So picture the scene. I've got all this stuff whizzing around my head from talking with people who had mental health concerns. I've been working with CAMS, Children and Adolescent Mental Health Support, been working with the Foundation Trust. We've been in schools, been at GPs, been doing process mapping of IAPT services, so clinical pathways, all of this stuff had gone through my head. And then I bumped into Gemma and I said, oh my God, Gem, hi! You know, I'm on a high because it's busy and I'm a workaholic and I want a gin, you know. And the kids were in bed and my husband was with them. They weren't alone, don't worry. And I hugged Gemma and said, hi, how are you? And she fell on the floor and she burst into tears. And I sat down with her on the floor in Nisa and said, what's going on? And she said to me, Ellie has been self-harming for a few weeks now. Now, Ellie is bubbly, positive, sporty, gorgeous, enthusiastic, smart, all of those things we all aspire to be forever. She was all of those, and she still is all of those things. She'd been self-harming for quite a while, and Gemma had been to the GP that day with Ellie. And I said to her, tell me, and so I'm quite a practical person, so I'm like, oh no, that's awful, but let's talk through what's happened. Been to the GP. What does everyone think happened at the GP? Went to the GP, she's got a daughter, self-harming daughter. What happened? Is there anybody out there that's ever been to a doctor? Should I tell you? We'll refer you. Yes, we will. How helpful that is. Yes, we will refer you. We'll refer you into CAMS. CAMS? What's CAMS? Is Gemma's reaction. We'll refer you into CAMS in 9 weeks and you'll get a letter. And it'll be in about 9 weeks. 9 weeks' time. Gemma's daughter is slitting her wrist. She is cutting herself. Blood is coming out. And she's in Nisa and she's got Ellie in the car. And I said, 9 weeks' time, and excuse my language because I'm a swearer. But it isn't fucking good enough, 9 weeks. Now, I love NHS, like love, and we do a lot of work with them. But they have a problem, and we, as a community, have a role in this problem. What happened is she had this appointment for in 9 weeks' time, and she said, what do I do now? Where do I go now? What can I do? And I said, that's what I'm working on. Leave it with me. So what I created, so that was the 1st of August, I walked home, I didn't have my gin just yet. I went online, I bought a URL, I built a brand overnight, and got on the case with my CCG commissioners. Because we were in the middle of doing all this research, and it was supposed to be really, really valuable to them. And so they said, oh, you know, what do young people want? So we're talking about 11 to 19-year-olds, service users and non-service users. What do they want? And I said, well, they want it all in one place. They want it to be dead easy to find, reliable, go to find out different types of mental health support, what's available in my community and what's available nationally. Now, the researcher in me had spent January to August getting increasingly pissed off that this didn't already exist, actually going a little bit out of my own mind with annoyance. And so when I got home from Nisa, after sitting next to the bananas and recovering from the tears, and said to my husband, leave me alone, don't talk to me, I've got to fix this and I've got to fix it now, I gave them all this feedback. Presented at the end of September. Said, look, come on, I'll give you my time for free. I'm not going to charge. Let's just fix this. Let's do this together. Well, of course, we know the challenges that exist. No matter how much compassion you have, the challenges that exist when you are in a structure, an organisation of that size, even just at a CCG level. So it got me thinking, they want this all in one place. And I thought about apprenticeship providers, and I was in the middle of writing a booklet. Boring. But I was doing it anyway. Bit of money. And he said, they want to... Apprenticeship providers, I know that you want to support learners. You want to support learners beyond completing your progression, completing your qualification. I know that the marketeer in me is saying you want something different, you want to edge, you want to brand it slightly differently, but you actually need content. You need reasons to engage. You want to impress Ofsted. And you also want data. There's been a lot of talk today about data and insight and proving and showing what you're worth and showing what you do. So what we did in August last year is build a platform that is being commissioned by the NHS, and it's rolled out across, it's about to roll across Cheshire. It's in 2 parts of Cheshire at the moment. Cheshire, with the hope to go nationally, with the pure ambition of raising visibility of mental health services. I have a personal interest in this, as well as my friend Gemma. My auntie is schizophrenic. She's been out of the system, living an independent life for 12 years now. And then only 2 weeks ago, or maybe 6 weeks ago, when we started talking about this initiative, did she get sectioned again. So she's back in the system. But I thought, put these things together and said, okay, well, what if we could enable providers, and this is my passion's about kids and learning, to give young people the opportunity to find national and maybe local mental health support based on condition or based on symptom. And so that's the mission that I'm on. We have this platform with the NHS, and we've also built this separate platform, and I only came up with the idea probably about 6 weeks ago, when I think I put it on Twitter, on LinkedIn, and then Lindsay said, this is worth talking about, and I seem to have apprenticeship conversations every day since then, because there's something in it. And as everybody tells me, A, this is really hard to keep up to date. Well, yeah, obviously. Oh, I better not do it then, had I? And B, you're not going to make loads of money out of this. Oh, really? Working the further education in the NHS, I'm not going to make millions. Okay, well, I'll stop then, shall I? No, because Gemma's still crying and Ellie's still cutting her wrists. And sorry if that sounds like really angry, but it really riles me, as it does a lot of other people, I can imagine. So what can we do as a community? Well, this has been born from, you talk about wanting to understand the learner and support the learner. That's the business that I'm in when it comes to research. That's the only stuff I care about, helping you better position yourselves to support the learner. So we can take time to understand them. Early intervention supports prevention, giving appropriate information, advice and guidance at the very beginning, even if it's not for them themselves, it's about their grandma who has dementia or their mum or they're a carer, supports long-term needs and avoids somebody going into a bottleneck service that is CAMHS, and anybody that works with any part of the NHS knows the challenges that they experience there. Be proactive and pay attention. These young people, I was supposed to run a focus group with 14 kids, right? And the teacher told me, these people haven't experienced any mental health concerns. I said, okay, that's fine. So I knew I was doing a few different groups of different types. I walked into a school in Chester, all these 14 students barraged me with information. They were all service users, and do you know what? They wanted to tell their story. They wanted to stand up and say, this is what's happened to me, this is the part I play in it. And so I think there's a role in us where not only should we talk about mental health concerns and kind of raise the stigma and time to talk sort of stuff, and I'm a massive believer in that, but we also need tools. We actually need to give somebody something to do something with it. Because otherwise we end up talking about it, that talk then goes online and it then goes underground. So we're trying to encourage people to provide them with tools to aid the conversation. I don't know how long I've lasted. Right, so that's it. That's my email address. That's it. Oh, any questions? Do them later, yeah.
Think apprenticeship. Think pathway.